Our next speaker will be Nancy Rivards. And again, her short introduction is in the souvenir. She is the founder of the Airline Ambassadors International AAI in 1996. She invented this when she was a flight attendant. And her initiatives have involved, have hand-delivered over 60 million of aid to children in 62 countries, in orphanages, clinics, and remote communities, impacting over 500,000 children. Volunteers have escorted 3,000 children for life-changing Medicare. AAI developed the first industry-specific training and has become the leading advocate for awareness in the airline industry. AAI recognized report its training has been provided at 75 airports to over 7,000 flight and air personnel. Nancy and her initiative has been very well recognized and awarded by the international community. Almost every year she has been recognized, or her initiations has been recognized by the world community since 1999. In 1999, she was awarded with the Women of Peace Award. In 2000, Ambassador of Peace Award. 2001, Rotary Paul Harris Fellow. In 2004, National Caring Award. In 2006, President's Award for Lifetime Achievement. In 2007, the Governor of Mississippi and Foreign Ministry of El Salvador registered honor on her. Boys Town in 2010, President's Volunteer Service Award and Global Women of the Year at the Academy of Television, Arts and Sciences, and the Ambassador of Peace Award at the London Travel Market 2013, recognized at IPTI in 2014, and Human Rights Hero Award by the Foundation for a Slavery-Free World in 2015. Commendation from Congresswoman Lee in 2016 and 2017, and in 2018, AAI was honored by Nevada Child Seekers. She signed a contract for her life rights for a future book and feature film on her life story. So Nancy, with all this international recognition of yours, we are proud to have you here as a speaker today. Thank you.
I didn't know you were going to say all that. Thank you very much, and I'm so very happy to be here. I didn't know he was going to read all that, but I appreciate it. I first want to give thanks to Dr. Kate Jewell, who's here with me today. She is the director of our Nepal humanitarian program, and she suggested to the PATA board that we share about our work, our leading edge work in human trafficking awareness. So thank you, Kate. All right. So first I want to give you a little background. It was so interesting to have this spiritual group go earlier because when my father died, I was working in management at American Airlines. And I went back to being a flight attendant to embark on a very deep and profound spiritual search for 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, I gave away most of my possessions, and I asked God how I could make a difference. And I saw that the travel industry can play a far more fundamental role building bonds of friendship, goodwill, and understanding between people and cultures. And I founded Airline Ambassadors in 1996. Originally, we began as flight attendants, hand-delivering humanitarian aid on missions around the world. We expanded to include people from all backgrounds and professions, and we've done a lot of good. We're the only relief and development organization of the overall airline industry, and also a UN NGO, and we support the Sustainable Development Goals. So every month we have humanitarian missions, and we saw lots of children in need. We knew that well, but we didn't know anything about the issue of human trafficking until in Cambodia in 2009, we found a little girl. I don't know how to do there, who had been abandoned by her parents and was drawing clothes on her own body with a red marking pen. She was living underneath a house that was up on stilts, and they said, oh, a trafficker will pick her up tonight. We didn't know what human trafficking was. We gave the little girl a balloon, and we thought, how can we leave her in danger? And we ended up getting her to a doctor and to a safe house. She had no clothes, no name, no hair. We named her Som Nang, which means lucky. And we learned on that trip about the dark reality of human trafficking. The following month, 2009 again, we were in the Dominican Republic, as usual, hand-delivering aid to orphans and children in need. We talked about human trafficking, and we promised each other to be aware on our flights out. We knew from personal experience that traffickers use commercial air travel. They use all forms of transportation, but commercial air travel was one of them. And thousands of victims are trafficked across international borders every year. We knew that the aviation personnel and tourism personnel can play a key role in detecting and discerning human trafficking en route. They can be force multipliers for law enforcement. We developed, because no one was taking any action, and we saw a place where we could serve, the first industry-specific training on human trafficking awareness, which we vetted with the US Department of State, Homeland Security, Customs Border Protection, and we gave our first training before the Super Bowl in Dallas to a standing room only crowd. We've now implemented 105 trainings around the world, across the United States at airports and in many other countries. We would love to do a train the trainer for all the Nepalese airlines and for the tourism industry as well. Our work has led to legislation in the United States for flight attendants are mandated to receive training on human trafficking. That's being expanded this year. And the following year, both ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization, recommended that all airlines train staff. We were on the committee of ICAO that developed those guidelines. IATA jumped on as well, International Air Transport Association, to support the effort with their Eyes Wide Open campaign. Here's what we teach to flight attendants, but this can be applied to the tourism industry as well. To be observant, to be connected. Our job is to be connected to people, to ask targeted questions. This flight attendant might be asking, where are you going? What's going on? And she might notice that the little girl has a bunch of bruises or is in control of the person next to her. She talks to her fellow flight attendants and they have the same idea, something might be wrong. We teach the flight attendants to tell, at this point, the pilot and explain the indicators, the seat number, and have the pilot radio ahead that professional evaluation may be needed. The flight deck coordinates with dispatch at the upcoming airport and law enforcement either meets the flight undercover if it's a domestic flight, or Customs and Border Protection meets the flight. Everyone goes through customs when they arrive in the country. We've been successful. In the last 2 years, we developed an app. We've received 1,200 reports of human trafficking, so we've saved a lot of lives. It's happening in airports. This particular case happened in Gatwick Airport, where they're bringing young girls in from Eastern Europe for well-paying jobs in bars and cafes, auctioning them off in the arrivals hall, right there in front of everybody. It's happening in Nepal as well. This is considered one of the most busiest trafficking routes in the world, from Nepal to India. It's estimated that 150 to 200,000 girls are transferred across that border every year. The brothel owners in Calcutta and Mumbai are requesting the lighter-skinned Nepali girls, so there's a high price on them. They pay between 50 and 70,000 rupees per girl. The younger the girl, the more higher price she fetches. And the victims are forced to serve 3 to 40 clients a day. A young girl that's tricked into crossing the border, the trafficker will pay the family in the country that think they're providing a better life for their daughter, ends up being trapped in one of these brothels, having to service lots of men per day, and she's unable to leave. She's under what they call debt bondage, and they force and intimidation and drugs, everything you can imagine is used. It's amazing to think this is happening in our time. Labor trafficking is another issue where many children are forced to work in the brick factories, the carpet factories, the tea rooms, etc., in agriculture. And really, it's the poverty that's the root of it. It's the Dalit caste, the untouchables, and the indigenous people that are at the highest risk. But there's a way for tourism to fight back and to be aware. We can train tourism professionals and aviation professionals on the indicators of human trafficking, develop a policy. In every organization should have a policy. You can demonstrate social responsibility by raising public awareness, not only among your employees, but among your clients. And ideally, trafficking victims oftentimes are stigmatized when they go back to their villages, and they need jobs. Being willing to train and hire trafficking survivors is key. If we come here and do a training for you, our training is unique because we work with trafficking survivors, and once people hear their stories, they're totally riveted and motivated to make a difference. And they can support local NGOs. Kate and I are here also to meet with Mighty Nepal and some of the other trafficking NGOs to see ways we can support them. Here's a quick success story of an agent in Sacramento that saved 2 girls from human trafficking. They'd been recruited by a guy on Instagram, saved their lives. Another case, a flight attendant had seen 4 to 5 girls being trafficked, being moved every time she took the flight to Chicago, and had bus tickets to New York. They said they were coming to be models or work on television, but they didn't even speak English. They were being trafficked into the sex trade. Sandy's response and call to the hotline ended up in an undercover person being put on the plane to stem the flow of trafficking out of Moscow. Another one from Uber and hotels. We saved people in both Uber and hotels. And also, this is basically our tourism operator in Sierra Leone. He runs an orphanage there. He called airline ambassadors for help. Because of his interaction, we were able to save 48 girls from human trafficking that were being led to Kuwait with promises of jobs. This is him meeting the first group, and last week, the last group of 48 girls came back to Sierra Leone. So unless we are willing to take action, this can be the last trace of an abducted child. Thank you very much.